one rule massively affects how your campaign's tone feels, just as much as what level you choose to play at, if not more. If you've ever struggled to get your campaign to feel right, I suggest you start with this. It's resting rules. Changing how short and long rests work massively shapes what your adventuring day looks like, and the adventuring day is at the core of your game's tone. Okay, if you haven't heard the term adventuring day before, let me explain. To put it simply, it's the period of play between each long rest. Everything you're expecting to tackle in your sessions before the players get a chance to fully recharge. We're talking on average here. There can be a lot of variance in your adventuring days. Depending on the situation, your players might be expected to take on a much greater challenge than usual between their rests, but what sets your game's tone is what your adventuring days typically consist of. There's a lot to be said about what kinds of things can occur in an adventuring day, but we aren't going into detail on all of that. We're going to focus on the most important metric: encounters per adventuring day. It doesn't have to be combat, but it does have to be something that'll burn player resources, be it spell slots, magic items, hit points, anything that will make them benefit from another rest. By default, 5th edition's adventuring day is a day. One day. It's the time between waking up from sleeping to sleeping again, because a long rest is 8 hours, so you naturally get one in when you go to bed. The 2014 Dungeon Master's Guide provides a little bit of insight on the adventuring day. Assuming typical adventuring conditions and average luck, most adventuring parties can handle about 6 to 8 medium or hard encounters in a day. I don't know about you, but that's a lot of encounters for most of my games. For the classic adventurers taking on the dungeon game, hell yeah, I've played in those and loved them. Throw more encounters at me. But 6+ fights in 24 hours isn't gonna fit the tone of my heist game, or my Monster of the Week campaign, or anything else I'm currently running. There's just not a viable story reason for that many challenges and obstacles, and constant combat is not what my players are showing up for. But this is the design intention behind the game's balance, which is not perfect, and we do not need to abide by it. But I do think we should understand it. That way we get some guidelines for how to create the game we do want. Understanding the design intention lets us understand how to tweak it. Further down on that same page, the DMG also states, over the course of a full adventuring day, the party will likely need to take 2 short rests. That's also something that hadn't been happening in my earlier games, and in hindsight, helps explain why I struggled to create the game environment I wanted. If you run the game only ever throwing 1 encounter at your party before they go night-night, and can't figure out why you're never able to challenge them, knowing that the game wants you to throw 6 to 8 fights their way might help you see the issue. If we're bumping down the amount of encounters we give our players, the game will become easier. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing, mind you, but it's something to recognize. If we don't want to make our game that much easier, but we still want to reduce the number of daily encounters, we have to make a lot of changes to compensate, to somehow build that challenge back in, but maintain our pacing, to burn player resources, but not add in a bunch of bloat to our sessions, unless we make some changes to what a day looks like. See, while the default adventuring day in 5th edition is only 1 day, that doesn't have to be the case. Adventuring day isn't to be taken literally. The word day here exists in the abstract. It's more of an adventuring period, as we can do things to shape our adventuring period beyond 1 day. AKA, we're about to change the amount of time our players are expected to go without a long rest. Step 1. Figure out what your adventuring period should look like based on the simple 6 to 8 rule. Start with your desired number of encounters in a day. Let's say we're aiming for 2 to 3. Now we figure out how many days it'll take to reach our goal. If we're throwing 2 to 3 encounters per day at our party, then in 3 days, they'll have had 6 to 9. That's close enough. It doesn't have to be perfect. For this structure, our adventuring period is about 3 days. Step 2. Reduce or increase the adventuring period based on the expected difficulty of your average encounter. In layman's terms, if you want those 2 to 3 fights to be damn hard, a game where players might be expected to use a lot of resources in each combat, then you'll want your adventuring period to only be 1 or 2 days, having less encounters in total before that party gets to rest. But that's only if you want to maintain the same difficulty 5th edition was designed with. If you want the campaign itself to be damn hard, not just the individual encounters, consider keeping your adventuring period exactly as you had it in Step 1. If you want your average encounter to be easy, then you'll have to stretch out the adventuring period and make it a week or so. That way you can fit in more encounters in that time. Once again though, this is just if you want to keep the relative difficulty. If you want the whole campaign to be easier, don't worry about this step. Also skip this step if you don't plan on making things extra hard or extra easy. If you plan on playing like relatively normal. I probably should have led with saying that this step usually gets skipped. I am sorry. Step 3 is to change your resting rules to suit your needs. This is the skeleton of your adventuring period. It keeps it all together. Determine how long each type should take based on the idea that there should be 2 short rests for each long rest. Once again, this isn't a hard rule, just something to keep in mind about how the game was designed. If we want that adventuring period of 3 days, we could make a short rest 8 hours, and a long take 24. That way, our players need a night's sleep to spend hit dice and 1 entire day off to completely recharge, which fits pretty nicely into a 3-day structure. The party goes through day 1, has 2 to 3 encounters, and a short rest overnight. Day 2, they do the same thing, have encounters 4 through 6, and another short rest. On day 3, they get 1 more full day of adventuring to get in their last few encounters before they take the next entire day off the job, getting a full long rest. Now, our resting rules are promoting this structure of play. Step 4 is to pair this with a sense of urgency. Urgency is the gears and the fuel. It's all the moving pieces that make this machine tick the way it's supposed to. If your players don't have a sense of urgency, if the party sacrifices nothing by taking a full day to long rest, then you won't accomplish anything. The party needs some form of incentive to take on more encounters before they put their swords down for that long. I'm sure you've probably heard this all before, but it's still really important to make these resting changes work. What the urgency is, or how severe it is, changes all the time throughout a campaign. This part is less formulaic and more of an ever-shifting art. Urgency can take the form of random encounters hitting your players while they try to rest, pushing them to get through the adventure so they can make it back to a safe town. Or urgency can be more blunt time limits, like the evil wizard completes his evil ritual in 5 evil days. Truly, it's anything that pushes the party forward. In the inverse, we can have a lack of urgency to let our players get those rests in. If our party is reaching the 3rd day in their adventuring period, and we don't pump the brakes to let them rest, then we can also fail at achieving our goal. Granted, depending on the situation, it can be really fun to have your party push past their usual limits. It could make a great consequence for a previous mistake they made, or just be a tool you use to heighten drama and difficulty for certain parts, or tons of other things. But in general, we want to tailor our urgency to push our party just far enough to reach the adventuring period without shoving them overboard. These rules aren't looking to change the content in your sessions or the way you run the game. Your players should get through your campaign at the exact same pace in real life, but the in-universe pacing should feel different. I want to preserve the way you play at the table, but have you put more of a focus on getting the right campaign tone and having a more balanced challenge. If you want to follow through with the adventuring period of 1 week so you can maintain that 1 encounter per day style of play, then you might want to look into the gritty realism rules from the 2014 Dungeon Master's Guide. These rules make a short rest take 8 hours and a long rest take a full week. While that doesn't fully fit into the 2 short rests per 1 long rest philosophy, it does still do a very good job of slowing down the game's pace. If you want to hit that sweet mark of 2 short per 1 long, I suggest changing short rests to be 24 hours instead. That way, the players have to take a full day off of whatever it is they're doing to get that benefit. AKA, it doesn't come naturally with just sleeping every night, and it's more of a choice. You will also have more opportunities in a 24-hour period to interrupt or delay their rests too. You can also make an adventuring period shorter, by the way. I didn't talk about that nearly as much because I've never played a game that way, so I can't personally vouch for how effective it is. but it's totally doable if you want your players to get more done in a day. The DMG has a rule called Epic Heroism, which sounds pretty perfect for games with a comic book or an anime-style tone. That sort of thing where a rousing speech from your friends, or just catching a quick breath, can fully revitalize you, ready to go again. One night can be a non-stop gauntlet of just fight after fight, one bad guy coming right after the next. If you want more ideas for rest alternatives, you should check out this Mystic Arts video I'm going to link in the description. In it, Dathi talks about his excursion resting rules, a variant with a little more complexity, but it's still plenty straightforward and easy to follow. They sound absolutely perfect for one of those classic exploration or hex crawl games where adventurers go out adventuring on adventures. And if you want to go out adventuring on adventures, too bad. You're not cool enough, you'd die. But if you want to see me make better quality content more frequently, you can consider joining my Patreon. Who knows, you might even become as cool as Nolan Widmer or Jaso Queso. Two guys I think could definitely go out adventuring on adventures. I mean, they'd probably still die, but they look cool doing it. And I'd argue that's what really matters.